Luffy brings out the big guns against Cracker, the Biscuit Warrior, and Sanji's brothers are dickheads. Big surprise there, right? All that and more in this week's episode of One Piece. Oh, the battle between Luffy and Cracker is getting really exciting in this episode. We finally got to see some brand new Gear 4th techniques, and they looked really awesome. What I really love about this battle right here is that it's still just the beginning here. I love the fact that Luffy has basically used every single major technique that he utilized against Doflamingo, and Cracker is basically just sort of wiping it off of his sleeves. Cracker's reaction to all of Luffy's attacks is also just very impressive. The fact that he just continuously keeps creating soldiers by clapping his hands, and there just seems to be an endless army of these massive biscuit warriors. And man, there's just nothing Luffy can do here. Every single technique that he used against Doflamingo has basically been completely negated. That's when he decides he's going to utilize a new technique that we have never seen, which is the Kong Organ, where his arms are moving so fast that it looks like he has 3 giant arm cannons on either side. He then basically releases them Gatling style against Cracker, and yet it still doesn't really do anything. The battle is just getting started. It's kind of amazing that Luffy has actually run into an enemy that's this powerful this early on into the arc. And Cracker is certainly someone that you don't want to mess with, especially when you consider that Doflamingo also had the ability to create clones with his string ability, yet he wasn't able to create as many as he could with Cracker, who seems to be able to infinitely just create more biscuits just from clapping. He seems to have no repercussions for doing this multiple times. It doesn't seem to weaken him at all, and he seems to be taking his battle against Luffy in stride as if he's like, I've seen this type of shit before, this doesn't bother me, and that makes Cracker really freaking badass. There's also a few other minor stories which are going on. Basically, Nami is still completely torturing all of the talking trees in the seducing woods, which is still really hilarious, mostly because of her super over-the-top expressions, which I'm sure have already become pretty damn famous. And then there's a great scene with Pedro and Brook as they actually escape into the armor of this giant biscuit soldier by actually cutting off a back piece of the armor and hitching a ride, which is normal. I mean, you've done that before, right? And the last half of the episode is just another firm reminder that Sanji's family is just a bunch of dicks. They just love being assholes for practically no reason. They're warmongering jerks. That's pretty much all there is to say about them, especially his brother Niji in this week's episode, who refuses to eat the meal that was prepared for him because he doesn't like it. This pisses off Sanji because he never wants to waste food at all. They end up getting into a little bit of a scuffle, and Niji decides to call out the cook who prepared the food, and he actually decides to throw the freaking plate right at her head when Sanji decides to be a badass and practically warp right in front of her, just grabbing it, looking like a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur. It was just a really cool scene the way he confronted his brother right here. And it shows that even though he has these weird little wristlets that could actually make his hands explode, he's not going to take any of their bullshit. That is manly. And he's still smoking his cigarette while doing all of that. That's just badass. Bonafide badass. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? This was a really simple but really great episode right here. There were a lot of little moments that I really appreciated. I love that they're making Cracker seem like a really powerful foe in a really cool way by showing off all of the signature abilities that we saw from the battle with Doflamingo. Like I said, it's just showing that Luffy's going to have to pull out some new tricks that he never had the opportunity to use against that weird, freaky, pink-feathered boa'd bastard. And Cracker is just proving that he is not fucking around at all. It almost seems like he's just playing with Luffy at this point. He even displays a few minor new techniques in this episode, such as the honey pretzel, which is just a variation on his pretzel roll, which is just a really big sword stab, which is really powerful, and that's pretty much just that. More just the build-up between their battle, and it's starting to get, like, ridiculous and Dragon Ball Z-like with the way the characters are fighting. When they hit each other and kick each other, you actually get to see them, like, skidding across the landscape and kicking up lots of dust and destroying the forest and everything in their wake. It's just fun, and you can tell they're having a lot of fun with this one right here, and yet this is still just the beginning of their battle. That's the best thing about this one. It's the gift that just keeps on giving. Not to mention the other little small moments with the other characters, building upon some other big important parts of the arc. Even a really key scene with Big Mom, who's still trying to question, what the fuck are these Straw Hat Pirates doing on my island, and how are they going to screw me in this wedding over? And of course worrying about what's going on now that Germa 66 has finally arrived. So yeah. great episode of One Piece right here. Really solid from beginning to end. Very heavy on the action, some of which will look overly familiar to some people of the series, but for the most part, it looks really cool while it is doing it, and Cracker is certainly one hell of an intimidating foe, and he's just one of many in this very crazy arc of One Piece. So, check it out, guys. Super fun, action-packed episode. I'm giving this one right here a 4 out of 5. Super solid episode that moves at a so-so pace. So make sure to check it out if you're a big fan of the series, and of course make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode in the comments section. Thank you all so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more One Piece reviews. Make sure to like this video as well and share it with all your friends. Thank you all again for watching. Take care, and as always, stay down there, baby.